On today's show, the Phoenix Suns keep stacking W's, but is the way they're winning sustainable? Plus, their upcoming road trip, we're going to dive deeper into that, plus their upcoming schedule as a whole, and we'll talk more. The Suns need to make a move. The trade deadline is fast approaching. Let's talk about that much more in this edition of Locked On Phoenix Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up? Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. My name is Benjamin Garcia, host of the Ben Garcia Show, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, where I talk all things Arizona sports, and a credentialed Phoenix Suns media member covering your Phoenix Suns 365 days out of the calendar year for the number one sports podcast network in the world, the Locked On Podcast Network. Do me a favor, hit that like, share, subscribe button, follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show, and we appreciate you continuously making this show a part of your day. But reminder, Locked On Phoenix Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So hit that subscribe button to do what thousands of Suns fans have already done. Become an everyday become an everyday with Locked On Phoenix Suns here each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Joining me on today's show from Bright Side of the Sun, my guy Bruce Veliz. Bruce, I gotta tell you, like, normally I'm just like on the money there with those with that early introduction. When I'm a little frazzled this morning, Bruce. I went to bed last night. Like, guys can't even poke fun at teams anymore without getting in trouble on social media. And one of the things that's been, just different for me this year is my platform has really grown. Thankfully, to all the lovely listeners of not just the Ben Garcia, not just Locked On Phoenix Suns, but Ben Garcia Show as well. And people, I think, who appreciate my content. But last night I put something out that the Rockets are one of the most disappointing teams in the NBA. I think arguably the most disappointing team in the NBA. I think a lot of Rockets fans would go back and undo that Kevin Durant trade if they could. And the Suns are one of the most surprising teams in the NBA. And I've got people coming at me for it. I know, right, Bruce? Just a rage baiter, just a hot take. How dare I say a team that traded for a top 10 player of all time, who was a 2 seed last year, didn't give up what was seen as a lot for him. And they're not doing too well this year. But listen, the Suns, right now in the 6th seed, the Rockets in the 7th seed. I'm not saying it's going to end up like that. In fact, I'd be more confident that it isn't. But the Suns are winning games, man. And it sometimes doesn't feel sustainable, but it is. Do you see the Suns and what they're doing right now and their model of play, even like games last night where Dillon Brooks and Devin Booker combined for 10 for 28, and they beat the Wizards by 1 billion points? Is what the Suns are doing sustainable?
Yeah, I would think so. And thank you for having me back on the show once again, Ben. It's awesome to be able to discuss the Suns here with you. And I do think that this is going to be some sustainable win play for the Suns. Earlier in the season, I did see a tweet from Flex from Jersey just a couple of days ago, but he said that they have a lot more Eastern Conference games coming into play. We do know they have that Eastern Conference trip coming up with their next games versus they have the Heat, Pistons, and then I believe the Knicks for the rest of this week. So once again, some tougher opponents like right there, but I do think some of the Eastern competition is weaker than the Western competition that we have seen so far this season. And if the Suns have already played, the Thunder 3 times and given them 2 quality games, right? The one blowout game, but they didn't have many of their players, but had most of their guys. The Nuggets games, they've been a little bit bigger of the wins for the Nuggets, but they haven't had Mark Williams available, mainly playing in those games, right? They have been able to handle some of the top tier teams. They've been able to handle the Spurs a little bit. The Rockets, they've been in some close matchups, even if they've both had some injuries here and there. So I do think if they are playing against some of these, I wouldn't say easier teams, but teams that, are going through some struggles or maybe might not be those top tier dogs out there in the West, I think the Suns have a little bit of an easier chance to beat some of these guys. And I think, especially in these next couple games, we're going to see that come through to play.
Do you feel better about this team? Like, I guess I would ask this. Let me back up a little bit. Here's the reasoning why it doesn't feel super sustainable, even though I know it is. Like, I don't want to come out here and make it seem like I'm not believing in what the Suns are doing, because I am believing what the Suns are doing. I think it's incredibly difficult for 82 games out of the year, even really just 75 of them, because every team has off nights, where the Suns come out and they outwork every team that they play. Now, there's the occasional Thunder game where they beat them by damn near 50 points, and like that happens. Or there's, hiccups early in the season where they get beat by the Clippers by a ton or the Nuggets by a ton. Like that happens. But it feels like it shouldn't look this easy for a team that, I bought into Jordan Goodwin before a lot of other people did. I like Dillon Brooks. I like Devin Booker, but they're kind of doing it with just role players right now. A bunch of guys having career years. Colin Gillespie was, kind of been bad over the last couple of games, and my Colin Gillespie takes aren't aging super well as of right now, but I'm sure he'll figure it out. But Dillon Brooks having a career year. Jordan Goodwin's having a career year. Like, how sustainable is it that all of these players continue to have career seasons? And should, and when Jalen Green comes back in the fold, should we just expect that it's going to go seamlessly?
I think they'll be able to kind of mesh through it pretty well. I know we've talked about the whole Jalen Green coming back. He should be coming back hopefully sooner rather than later on this road trip, which would be nice. And I think he'll be able to integrate himself back into that starting lineup once again well for this Suns team, adding some nice availability to attack the rim. And then I think that's going to let Colin get a little bit more comfortable. I know Colin has been playing this starting point guard role and has looked very solid in this point guard role. And I'm not going to take any knocks on Colin. I got to see him play against my college team and destroy them basically every time he played against them. So I'm already used to it. But I think that he's going to thrive a little bit better in that kind of 6-man off the bench role, playing that kind of combo guard for this Suns team, someone that can work on the ball but off the ball, playing alongside, regardless of the lineup, of Jordan Goodwin alongside of him, Jamari Bouye, Grayson Allen in those lineups. I think that's going to kind of keep that offense still alive on that secondary unit and keeping that 3-point shooting and that offensive creation that we have seen so great with this Suns team still effective for both teams here. And I think that every single week, honestly, I get more and more bought in with this team, because over on the Suns Planet podcast, we do our predictions per week when we go for this Suns team. And I'd be saying earlier in the season, like, oh, I think they're going to go 2-2, or I think they're going to go 3-1 this week, but they have, or 1-3, but they have really outdone my expectations every week, going, 4-0 some weeks or 3-1 some weeks. And I think I'm just, as the season is going on, I'm getting more and more bought into the identity and culture that Matt Ishbia and Brian Gregory have promised since the beginning of the season. And I think that we're going to see that kind of direction shift with this Suns team, not only just this year, but for the future of this team and how they construct and build these rosters.
Yeah, I do think the Suns are the most surprising team in the NBA. I don't know, like, someone just tweeted at me, because, again, phone's going bonkers right now, but I think someone just tweeted at me, like, the Pistons are the most surprising team in the NBA. And I'm like, oh, that's a good one as well. But at least I would say, okay, let's just take the Pistons out of it. In the Western Conference, or maybe just outside of the Pistons, the Suns might be the most surprising team in the NBA. And one of the things that is so surprising to me for this team, and I mentioned this a couple of times on the show, and I'd be curious your opinion on it. They shoot a lot of 3-point shots, but it's not even the fact that they shoot them. It's actually twofold. One, last year, it looked really difficult to get up 3-point shots. Like, if they did it, it felt really forced. It didn't feel natural. The ball didn't move around as much. A lot of it was pull-up jumpers. And this year, it feels much more fluid, much more natural. A lot of people have marked that when the Suns have 30 assists, it's when, it's probably the mark for a team that won more games than they probably lost. Or I'm sorry, it's marked for a team that's probably going to win more games than they probably lost. And they're making a lot of them. That is the most surprising thing to me. What is the most surprising thing to you?
So I think ultimately the most surprising thing to me with this Suns team is the defense. I think I didn't expect them to be this of a level of a threat. I think going into the season, I believed in players like Jordan Goodwin and Dillon Brooks, but they've really embodied this kind of defensive culture that Jordan Ott has brought on. And I know that the Suns said multiple times throughout their process when they had Jordan Ott and through stuff like that, they're going to play like when Jordan Ott's introductory press conference, they said they're going to play like the playoff teams, the finals teams, the Pacers, the Thunders, those type of fast-paced, always moving teams, hard and aggressive, playing on energy on both sides. And we've clearly have seen that from day one with this squad and this complete turnaround. The 3-point shooting, I think, has definitely been a little bit of a surprise as well, because I didn't expect maybe as much of a volume of 3-point shooting. But when you look at this Suns squad, they do have the shooters, and I think they were just playing some like forced offense, iso ball, the randomness offense you want to call of Mike Budenholzer last year. That was just made you want to peel your eyes back when watching at some points. Like, I'm just glad that they actually, I think it's just the system that they have with Jordan Ott is so valuable and so successful that it just brings out the best on both sides, because the Suns team, even though last year they didn't really have that many like connectors or like energy players compared to they do last year, they had Caleb Martin. They have obviously more than that now. I do think that the system and and Jordan Ott is a major benefactor to how this offensive defense is coming together.
You know, Bruce, it's so funny where we're at to this point of the season than we were last year, where I was I wasn't like pounding the table for it. That's being a little tongue in cheek, but I was pretty adamant that the Suns needed to bring back Caleb Martin because it was just another glue guy, energy guy. Like, that's how down bad we were last year in the Suns season, where this year it's completely different. Now you've got a bunch of those kind of guys on here, and obviously he wouldn't even fit into this because there's too many guards, but it's just a complete 180. And it's just been surprising to me, how many threes they're getting up, which is up there to the likes of like the Boston Celtics and what Joe Mazzulla runs, and how many of those they actually get and how many of those actually fall. So the maneuvering of the offense, the fluidity of it, it's been really surprising to me. And I think that's what makes the Suns super sustainable. Plus the fact, like, it is sustainable just to try really hard every night. And like, two things I think are massive in the defensive side of the ball. Defensively, you need to have the bodies to be able to throw at other teams. But you also need to have a consistency and a day one commitment to, we're just going to try a lot harder than you defensively. And I've just been floored by that. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say that they definitely have one of the most like hustle aggressiveness plays, like we obviously saw in one of the recent contests with the Knicks with Grayson Allen getting that save play. But even in some other games previous, when looking back at the year, like I remember there's one game, it wasn't the Pelicans back-to-back games, but it was the first time we played the Pelicans, and I think we beat them by like 30 or 40 points or something like that. It was a really bad blowout over in the Big Easy. But when they did that, I remember it was like late third quarter, fourth quarter, and like they're up 25-30, and Dillon Brooks is playing hard half-court defense, trying to, force pressure and try to make them get a turnover, right? Like, that's something that you wouldn't see last season if they were down 20 or up 20. Like, you know what I mean? They just kind of were on the effort. And I think this year they've really embraced that. Maybe, obviously, with the head coaching staff, they've kind of embodied that. But with the role players like Dillon Brooks and like Jordan Goodwin, that, I mean, main thing on the court is to be that kind of scrappy defender and to be that kind of relentless guy out there. I think they can kind of get behind those guys, and then you even see like a guy like Colin Gillespie, who's been like that from college, who's always had that heart and hustle, and embracing now the villain junior tag. I think that kind of embodiment brings out the best for everyone as well.
Yeah, that's what I want to be. I want to be villain media member. Would you like to be this is an invitation, would you like to be villain junior in the media world?
Sure.
It comes with a tall task. All right, well, that's good. We got my villain and villain junior. Let's look at the Suns' upcoming schedule, because obviously is very intriguing. There's a roadie coming up, Eastern Conference road trip. What is fair expectations? I kind of gave a little bit of this last night. Let's dive deeper into it now. Let's do it next. Today's episode is brought to you by the lovely folks over at Game Time. During basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building, the energy, the crowd, the first big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives the fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score tickets, fast, simple, and without the guesswork. Browsing the Game Time app is straightforward and intuitive. Finding tickets takes just a few taps. Seeing the view from your seat makes buying tickets easy and confident. Prices includes fees up front, so the total is clear from the start. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Down the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. This episode is also brought to you by the lovely folks over at ZocDoc. Finding a doctor you actually can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. You want someone in network, nearby, and with availability. But you also want a doctor who really listens, makes you feel comfortable, and explains things clearly and helps you walk out feeling confident with your next step. Your diamond in the rough doctor exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can choose someone you truly connect with. Listen, I love that you can search specifically for symptoms or specialties and quickly find that right fit. The real-time availability makes it so you can book instantly with no phone tag. Appointments usually happen within 24 to 72 hours, and then you can even have the same day openings. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. That's to find and immediately book a doctor you love. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. All right. So here's the thing with the Suns' upcoming road trip. It's kind of interesting because they're going up against a bunch of Eastern Conference opponents. Here's kind of the way I look at it, Bruce. With the Suns so here's the really good thing with the Suns. They're 24-15. They're second in the Pacific Division. They're sixth in the Western Conference right now. Is that where they're going to end? We don't know. But they've got a road trip coming up now. Miami, Detroit, New York, Brooklyn, Philly, Atlanta. 6 straight games all on the road. What are fair expectations for this road trip? Like, are you seeing 4 wins? Are you seeing 3 wins? What are things on you're like, okay, the Suns definitely should win that game, or they definitely should lose that game? Miami, Detroit, New York, Brooklyn, Philly, Atlanta.
I'm gonna go 4-2. I think.
Wow.
I think that the Suns will have a pretty solid time on this Eastern Conference road trip. I think the one thing that I look forward to is, we talked about this privately, but in the Knicks game that we just saw recently, they just were using their physicality and force on the interior to just kind of get rebounds and to kind of will themselves back into that game. And not only are they playing the Knicks that are going to be doing that again, but they're also playing the Pistons, who have Jalen Green, who's been absolutely insane, Isaiah Stewart, who's been absolutely insane in the interior. Someone that I know that your old co-host Brendan Queen used to talk about as a potential trade get for the Suns, as someone that I personally always used to like for the Suns. Like, that was always someone that could have been fun and interesting if they didn't get Mark Williams. But having those interior forces and going up against like Cade Cunningham, another matching guard that can kind of bring that offense similar to a Devin Booker, I just think that game's kind of a wash. Honestly, I think that's going to be a very, very difficult game for the Suns to win. I do think that they can beat the Knicks once again, but now you're in New York. They have Josh Hart back. They're going to have him, who was out versus that Suns game. I do think that little bit of disruptiveness is going to bring some bad things. But then you go on to like the Nets. I know the Nets have wanted to kind of win. They've had Michael Porter Jr. be pretty good, but I think if you put Dillon Brooks and Jordan Goodwin on Michael Porter Jr., or maybe he has a rest night because the Nets are trying to tank, you could get a win by beating them. And then the Sixers as well. I think they have some young, fun and exciting pieces over there, but they're nothing really that screams out to me that they're going to be like combating really with the Suns. I know that they have, Joel Embiid, but who's to say that he's going to be playing at 100%? The Hawks just made their Trae Young trade. I don't think they're realistically, I think they'll be good. They're a little scrappy defensive team, but I don't necessarily think they're going to be taking the reins of the Suns. And then the Heat game, which is on their next game, they could be a little bit scary, but I trust the fact that the Heat have been a little bit kind of hit or miss this season on their offense. And I think
a little disappointing.
Yeah, so I think the Suns will be able to kind of go into that game. I think the Pistons and the Knicks are the 2 games to watch for, but every other game I feel pretty confident going into.
So you feel like 4-2 is definitely in the picture. You're like, would you be surprised if they went, are you expecting, they should go 4-2?
I'm not expecting them to go 4-2. I could see them going 3-3. Like, I could see them losing maybe the Miami Heat game or something like that, or maybe the Hawks game, and I wouldn't be too shocked. But I think going 500 on the road trip, especially for the position that they're in, already exceeding the expectations of the season, would be pretty solid.
That's where I feel like I'm at as well. Because, let's just be honest. The Suns can beat anyone. They've proven that. They can beat anyone. They can beat the Thunder. The only great team that they've played and haven't beaten this year is the Denver Nuggets. I don't think the Rockets are a great team anymore. I think they're in that second tier of Western Conference teams where I think the Suns reside. Now, do I think they're better than the Suns? I don't know. Matchups are a thing, and I think the Rockets match up really well with the Suns. And I wouldn't want any business with that. But the only great team the Suns haven't beaten this year are the Denver Nuggets. And so, like, they can beat anyone. But I think it's, even for really good teams, it's hard to go on the road for 10 straight days and to win 4 out of 6. So the games I'm looking at are Miami. Can you beat Miami? I think you can. Can you beat the Nets? I think you will. Can you beat Atlanta? They did beat you last time, and they do have some of those players like, a Jalen Johnson or Dyson Daniels that can make things difficult on some of your shot makers. But I think 3-3 is definitely in the picture. Come back out of this road trip. What would it be? 27 and 18. They'd be 27 and 18. And then you come back home. Like you're just trying to set yourself up for that homestand in late January. Miami, Brooklyn, Detroit again, Cleveland, LA, the Clippers, Portland. Like that's where the Suns are really going to make their hay in the Western Conference. You can't come back 2-4. You can't come back 1-5. Not great. I think that's where you want to set the Suns up for some expectations. I want to dive deeper into what you just said, though, about those physical teams that the Suns have been going up against. And they've been beating, like the New York Knicks, but it's kind of gotten a little dicey. And let's do that.
I carry a lot of responsibility in my household. If something happened to me, there would be serious consequences. We have a mortgage. We got tuition. We got everyday bills. Those aren't going anywhere if something happens to me. And I know that's an overwhelming feeling, but I'm taking steps to protect my family by getting life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast, easy, and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LocdownNBA. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LocdownNBA. That's ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Application times and rates may vary.
So we talked about the New York Knicks game, which I thought was really eye-opening. The Suns got dominated on the boards. There was one possession where I think the Knicks had like 5 offensive rebounds in one possession alone. I think it might have been 6 actually, where you give good teams, and the Knicks are a good team, multiple chances to score the ball. It's going to bite you in the butt. And so I know that the segment of this is, do the Suns need to make a move? And I think there's a fair, just so we're clear, to all Suns fans out there who get upset with me for thinking, you could improve the power forward position a little bit. There is an argument to be made the Suns need to stand pat with what they have and roll it into next year. And they're ahead of schedule, and we'll deal with that next year. And I think it's totally fair. But I think this team is actually a lot better than we all thought, and might be a piece away from really competing in the Western Conference. And the one thing that has really been hindering the Suns is those big-bodied, lengthy teams that can beat you up on the boards and in the painted area. Last night in the first quarter, the Wizards had 20 points in the paint. That's a lengthy team with a couple of bigs. Like, those types of things can hurt the Phoenix Suns in the future. I want to get ahead of that. What's kind of your take on that situation? We can get in, it doesn't really need to be about the trade. I don't want to dive deep into that, but more so about, like, do they need to do that for that reason?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that they definitely do need some more size and physicality. When looking back at the stats from this Suns-Knicks game, the Suns were out-rebounded, like we were talking about, 50-37. And in the offensive rebounds, they were out-rebounded 16-9, so by 7. And then defensive rebounds by 34-28, so by 6 right there. So clearly out rebounded in both categories, not by just like 1 or 2, but like a substantial amount. It's not like they lost the offensive rebounds, but won the defensive rebounds. Like the Knicks were killing them on the glass. They were without Josh Hart, and the physicality and the inside pressure of that especially was very, very valuable. Now, Suns couldn't really utilize Mark Williams to their best ability in this game. And sometimes that's a little bit of another question with me is like, Mark Williams is very, very good with the Suns team, but it's kind of matchup dependent for this squad. And then you have to see a lot of Oso Ighodaro,
crazy.
which I love Oso Ighodaro, so I'm not going to say no to that. But I know that there's a strong part of this fan base that has the pitchforks and the torches ready to go at any moment if he messes up. So I do think that adding some more size for this front court is definitely needed, especially when you do look at this bill, right? Going into next season, you have a lot of guards and not a lot of wings / bigs, right? Like we've talked about in the past, but you have to pay Colin next year. You're going to most likely sign Bouye, either converting him this season or trying to convert him to a standard contract like you did with Colin last year. You already have Devin Booker. You already have Jalen Green. Then you have Grayson Allen. Like you have 5 or 6 guards. Like not saying which one it has to be, but one of them is eventually going to have to go to get some more help for that front court, whether if it's size, whether if it's this season, whether if it's next season, whether if it's this trade deadline, if it's in the off season, there is going to have to be something that's going to have to give. And it might just be Nick Richards at this point, but it's going to have to be something.
Totally fair. I guess, like, that is the Suns' biggest issue, right? Like, this is their Achilles heel. But here's the thing. Because, like, I don't want to make it all about trades. You and I are both very high on a guy like Obi Toppin. You talked about on this show, John Collins, Guerschon Yabusele. Sounds like he's available for the New York Knicks. I'd be really, like, let's meet in the middle, Suns fans. I will trade Nick Richards for Guerschon Yabusele, and that will satisfy my needs to get bigger in the front court. I'm not trying to get Larry Markkinen, but we can push that to the side because I don't want Suns fans to think like we're just trying to trade people. That's not the case. What if Oso Ighodaro is that piece? So sweet baby Oso Ighodaro has been in jail with me pretty much all year, but he's this close to being let out for good behavior. He's had crimes against basketball humanity all the way up to about 3 weeks ago, and he was serving a life sentence in Alcatraz. He's been a really good boy over the past couple of weeks. One of the things with Oso is he's been so much more aggressive, and I don't know if that's Jordan not giving him the confidence he needs. We saw Jordan Goodwin on the Old Man the Three podcast say, no one's told me to shoot this many threes before. And Jordan's like, shoot them. So I don't know if it's the confidence he's getting from him, but we are seeing Oso Ighodaro from the summer league to now become more aggressive at the basket, but as well as become a better passer when he's dribble penetrating to the basket and finding a cutter. And I think it's actually going to help players like Jalen Green. Could Oso Ighodaro be that missing piece? That's like, hey, we're going to play lineups of Oso and Mark Williams. Feels a little wild, but if you want to get bigger, that's a way to do it. You don't have to move anyone.
I honestly kind of like that because that was something that I talked about, honestly, at the beginning of the season when a lot of people were putting Ryan Dunn into their starting lineup alongside Dillon Brooks and Mark Williams.
I love that.
I was putting Oso Ighodaro in there, and a lot of people were looking at me like I was crazy. You can go back.
That would have been me.
I was
looking at you. You're crazy.
You can go back to the Bright Sides article of the player preview for the season for Oso Ighodaro. I wrote it. There are so many comments over there saying my projection of his stats are absolutely wild and that they're never going to happen. I'm going to have to go back and check those now that I'm talking about it because I'm pretty sure that they're closer to those predictions than what people were saying. But I do think Oso could kind of do that for this Suns team, and I would really like that. One thing that I've noticed as well, and we've kind of seen this as of late, but Oso, obviously, at the start of the year, wasn't supposed to be the starting big, drafted at 40th as a second-round pick. That was never his projection. But due to Mark Williams being brought back up to speed and them not really trusting Nick Richards because they saw that experiment last year, they just went with Oso because they wanted to give him the minutes to develop him, and I don't blame him for that. But as we've seen him get back into this like backup role, he's looked more comfortable. And then even as recently, like you mentioned, he's becoming more aggressive, but he's also been playing alongside Rasheer Fleming, which the one problem with Oso Ighodaro is that he can't stretch the floor. He can't really shoot, and that's really hard. But having a guy like Rasheer Fleming who has been able to stretch the floor and can shoot that 3-point and can play on that kind of wing play, I really like. And their passing has looked very solid as well. I think that kind of duo of connection could also really bring out the best in Oso to kind of be that backup big, but also maybe play some of that power forward as well in some of those starting lineups to kind of give them that extra versatility that they need.
I just can't believe we're talking about this with Oso now, because truly, like, I wanted him off the floor, but sweet baby Oso Ighodaro is growing up right before my very eyes, and he's doing the thing that I asked him to do from the summer league. Add pressure to the basket. Things are going to, if teams feel like they at least have to roll over or think or roll their coverage, not like complete, because it's freaking Oso Ighodaro at the end of the day. This is not Nikola Jokic, but if they feel like they just got to cheat a little and make shooters open, what's he really good at? Passing the basketball. I've mentioned before, he's an underrated ball handler. He's not a great ball handler. He's not Kyrie Irving, but he's better at handling the ball than I think Ryan Dunn is. And so, like, those types of things matter. So maybe that's what the Suns do. Maybe they just roll Oso up there. Maybe, like, let's satisfy all Suns fans' needs. Forget Grayson. Like, Suns fans really love him, and he's a good player. Forget that. Maybe you move Nick Richards, you bring Yabusele in here, and that's your thing. You help solidify your front court that way, potentially. And it's just wild that we're talking about that with Oso Ighodaro. So credit to you for saying that Oso Ighodaro should be in the starting line, because that wasn't, if I'd have known that, you would have never been on the show. No, I'm kidding. We recognize all sports opinions here on Locked On Phoenix Suns. So with that being said, guys, hit that like, share, subscribe button. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Follow my guy Bruce Veliz on all social media platforms at Bruce Veliz. That's for the audio audience, Bruce Veliz for the last part of it. Maybe that gets a little confusing. Bright Side of the Sun contributor, Suns Planet Pod, my guy Bruce Veliz, for myself, Benjamin Garcia. Bruce, thanks for joining us today, man.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And once again, hope to be back here on the show. And if you want to see more Suns stuff, check out Bright Side and Suns Planet Pod.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if you're on good behavior.